Welcome, citizens, to Liberty, Tales from the Tower. As your media director, it is my privilege to inform you that the following stories will contain content that some listeners will certainly find disturbing. But first, we here at Tower 4 have a few special announcements. For those who have not yet heard the talented new voice of our morning show host, Agrippina Kempfer, please tune in before first shift to hear the Atrian Morning Show here on AB3. Citizen Kempfer discusses cooking, hobbies, transportation updates, parenting tips, and more. Listening is a wonderful way to start your day, at least so we're told. And now, word from our sponsors. The Department of Public Affairs has informed us that they've declassified a new document regarding the incidents during the Great Siege of 312. For interested citizens, the department will be hosting a public QA in the Jacob West Auditorium in 4 days' time. The report reveals a great deal of research undertaken during the Great Siege, and while some of the content is certainly upsetting, it's all in the name of science, right? Speaking of which, tonight's tale, for science, is written for us by K.A. Statz, and read for us by K.A. Statz. But really, what exciting events could possibly be happening inside a water treatment facility?
Newly graduated from the Science Institute and overflowing with hard-fought certifications, I was underwhelmed when I was hired for the open research position at the water treatment facility. My family was ecstatic. It was apparently a great position. Important enough, highly intellectual, well-compensated, and more. The research position was exactly what was expected of my budding career. It was the natural order of things for me to be there. It was boring, but what could I expect right out of the Institute? The first couple of days were an introduction to the facility, its caretakers, and my fellow staff. My new co-workers consisted of some rather droll researchers, public affairs representatives, engineers, electricians, and maintenance staff, but the facilities were fantastic. If I'd actually enjoyed this field of research, I might have reached a utopia. Sadly, while the work was intellectually challenging, it was not suited to my direct interests. Regardless, I gave it my all. The primary treatment tanks towered overhead, and the sound of rushing water was unlike anything heard elsewhere. The pipes were color-coded and complex, stretching like a circuit board throughout the facility. Red pipes here, blue pipes there, each a clear indication of source and destination. The colors themselves were astonishing, but the structure was a domain unparalleled in my lifetime. It was dangerous, but it was exciting. Maintenance workers would hang upside down from pipes like children on a playground just to reach a welding spot. Researchers would flash fill entire tanks in minutes, filling the air with heavy humidity. Yes, it was work, hard and at times repetitive work, but here it seemed so alive. As time went on, I grew to know my fellow workers over break time meal and during walks to and from the Skyrail station. They were kind, and they had stories to tell. Dr. Sasaki had been working at the facility for longer than I had been alive, and he was filled with tales. He told me of a time he and the scientists from the lab above ours had to evacuate due to a pipe leak, and everyone within the facility escaped with slight substance intoxication and a humorous 2-hour stint at a lower timber. Another time, they had all been evacuated yet again due to an improperly stored chemical, which had solidified into an explosive substance no larger than a needle. While the cleaning crew completed a controlled detonation, the collected scientists went out for end-of-shift drinks. Dr. Sasaki recalled how odd it was to meet the researchers from the above labs. The heavy water tanks meant that the water treatment facility occupied the bottom floors of the tower, but the above levels belonged to several different divisions and research laboratories. Dr. Sasaki was slightly too intoxicated to remember much, but these scientists were from some teletrans lab or the like. He mostly remembered a QTTP heading on their datapads, but didn't know what it meant. After all, we were busy enough with our own work. My personal research was the long game, measuring isotopic enrichment over time in individual water reservoirs. As the months rolled on, my research finally descended into the monotonous details. I spent longer days at the facility, coming in with the first shift, power napping in the staff room, and leaving with the last. I did not enjoy it, but I was the most successful person my age that I knew. I used any free time to help my fellow researchers with their work and eventually had my name attached to multiple reports. I knew that if I had waited to publish anything until my own work was completed, I would have fallen behind. Eventually, as a few new researchers transferred in from a different facility, the timetables grew even busier. One night I stayed late, later than usual, and certainly later than the others. My fellows had left, and no one remained but myself and the overnight maintenance staff. They joked about being a hard worker and that I needed a social life.
You need to find a hobby. Make some friends your age.
My response was to laugh, and I wished them a pleasant evening. Internally, though, I agreed with them.
May the Archon watch over you.
They had cleaned and checked everything but the frontmost control room at that point, so I bid them farewell and wound my way back through the maze of pipes. The pipe's colors were nearly indistinguishable now that the primary lights had been deactivated and only the amber auxiliaries lit the facility. The amber lights made me realize how tired I felt. In 2 hours I would be home, but that would not be an improvement. A 20-minute train ride just to arrive at an insignificant empty apartment. If I slept for 7 hours, I would wake up again just to take the 20-minute train ride back to the facility. I was 26 years old, well-educated, well-employed, and, well, bored. Having reached the required access panel, I hooked up my datapad to the needed port. Downloading the readings would take a few minutes, and I still needed to take additional samples from the lowermost density separation gradient tank before I could leave for the evening. The tank wasn't too far, maybe another 2 minutes through the tangled pipework, so I left my datapad to download the readings and run through the system while I went to take the additional samples. If I could get this done, maybe I could ask for a day off. Taking a long weekend looked like a bright spot on the horizon. The Z Planetarium had a new exhibit opening soon, and it sounded relaxing enough. And I hoped to visit my parents more often than I had been able to as of late. Bobbing and weaving through the amber-shaded pipes, I reached for the glass sample tube in my coat and undid the top, just in time to strike my head on a low-hanging pipe.
Ow! Scrap.
The sample tube's top rolled off and under a tank. I cursed and knelt to see where it had stopped. Just as I thought the lid was lost to the dark of the undertank, it rolled back out. I scooped up the top, but dropped it again in disgust. It was sticky. I couldn't use it now anyways. It was contaminated with whatever goo had accumulated under the tank. I made mental note to inform the maintenance staff of this overlooked mess, then turned around. In my exhausted stupor, I hadn't brought a replacement sample tube with me. I wanted to head back, but found that I could not recognize what direction I was currently facing. The amber lights made it impossible to follow the colored pipes like street maps. I started back, or at least the direction I thought was back, but my foot would not lift from the ground. Stupid pipes. I looked down at my foot. It was not pipes, but some sticky puddle that had affixed my boot to its position. I wrenched my foot free of the boot and walked forward, albeit awkwardly, weaving through the confusing maze of pipes. I stopped dead in my tracks when I heard a noise above me and covered my head instinctively. At times, workers high in the pipes would drop their tools and could cause grave injury to those below, but as I protected myself, nothing seemed to be falling. So I continued on my way. But as soon as I heard the noise again, a clatter above me, then a shuffle from behind, I spun around.
Birmingham? Kimura? Is that you?
No response. There was no talking, no laughing, and no movement. I was in a narrow section between two tanks with pipes on either side. There, I waited. Seconds after, I heard dripping behind me. Turning my head, my hair got stuck in the same sticky substance that had stolen my boot. It was on the pipes behind me, but it hadn't been there mere moments ago. A shuffling sound ushered from in front of me. I was boxed in, panic rising in my chest while my hair was affixed to the goo on the pipes behind me. I wrenched at my hair and, out of desperation, used my pocket tool to cut myself free. Hair cut, I fell forward and heard the sound yet again. It was followed soon after by a skittering noise that echoed between the tall metal tanks. I was too scared to go forward, but it was impossible to go back. I thought for a moment about crawling under the tanks, but then I remembered the sample tube's cap covered in the same goo. Going under the tanks was not an option. Then I recalled the maintenance workers who climbed the pipes and readied myself for my first vertical facility experience. I took off my other boot and socks, planting my foot on the nearest horizontal pipe. Frightened, I climbed, and as the fumbling and skittering noises beneath me grew louder, I felt my heart pounding as I willed myself to climb faster. The central city takes a fear of heights out of you at an early age, but not a fear of falling. I gripped every pipe like it was my lifeline, and I didn't look back. That is, until I did. Beneath me, the fumbling clatter never grew further away, and when I looked down, I saw two large, featureless orbs reflected in the amber light. As I paused to peer deeper into the dark, it appeared as though it had form, like the large, dark gash beneath those glossy circles was a mouth. I couldn't shake that idea, but the fear of it drove me to climb faster, taking more reckless actions than were prudent. The tanks near me were over 2 stories tall, and when I finally reached the top, I was happy to plant my feet down on the hard metal surface. The clamoring from below continued, metal tapping and scraping at great speed. Whoever was coming up after me was not stopping and was very near now. I didn't wait to see them come over the edge. I ran to the other side of the tank, searching for my next exit, my escape. Even in the amber lights, I could see the darkness of a hole in the ceiling just a meter above the tank. From what I knew, the floor above the water treatment areas was a completely different research facility. If I could get up to those rooms, there was a chance someone was on duty, or maybe I could call security. I should have stopped and turned back when I noticed the goo on one side of the torn metal, but my fervent pursuer was so close now that I could hear breathing, and I knew I couldn't stop. I avoided the goo and climbed. Once in the research lab above, I tipped a desk over the hole in the tile floor. Everything went quiet, but everything also went dark. It looked as though no one worked the night shift in this facility, and thusly, none of the lights were on. I stumbled around the room, feeling for the walls and hopefully a security panel. From what I could perceive, this research lab also had pipes or tanks of some kind, although their circumference was significantly smaller than the massive water treatment tanks below. I finally stumbled into what felt like another desk and turned on the data screen just to produce the beam of white-green light. The tanks. Great Archon, the tanks. The smaller tanks in the lab were transparent tubes of thick glass, all housing impossible monstrosities. Their flesh was mangled and their limbs were all the wrong size. Lesions and growths on their bodies matched nothing I had ever seen. In my lurching fear, I couldn't comprehend the full extent of these things. It looked like some had teeth growing from their stomachs, and others seemed to be two beings entangled together with skin and organs. My foot clattered over loose glass, and the realization settled over me in a slow sinking fear. One of the tanks was shattered open. The liquid from within the tank had pooled into a nearby corner, but the monstrosity was absent. Wide-eyed and panicked, I typed random numbers again and again into the data screen, activating the security protocols for unauthorized use. A red light near a door flared, and I ran toward it, banging and screaming into the metal. A bang came from nearby, and I exhaled a breath I didn't know I had held. I thought a security team was near.
Help!
But the bang rang out again, and this time I could tell it came from behind me. The upturned desk on the floor shook, and I cried out, slamming my fists against the door so hard I could feel my hands bruising.
Open the door!
It was locked, but the security personnel had to be underway. The upturned desk crashed again, rattling as it fell back to the floor, but for a singular moment I could see predatory orbs of glinting amber turn toward me, and then dozens of mangled eyes gleaming in the red light from the other thick tanks. I fell next to the door, their eyes on me, my breath caught in my throat. Just then, the door hissed open, and a hulking black figure stepped in, grasped the back of my lab coat, and dragged me out of the room, followed soon after by the sound of the door's heavy security lock.
You were not permitted to be on this floor, Dr. Kamdar.
Well, those things aren't permitted on mine.
The door was sealed. The test subjects on this floor do not have access to the water treatment facility.
He examined me with aggravation and worry, pausing at the sight of my lopsided hair, bruised hands, and clear distress. My adamant and fearful tone caused him pause, and he listened. "There's a hole in the ceiling. I mean, the floor. One of its got into the below facility. It chased me up here." As additional security guards arrived, I was escorted away to make a statement. I remained in a holding cell overnight, followed by a day of further questioning. Shaken by the event, I was given several days off on the condition that I sign multiple non-disclosure agreements regarding the events I had experienced. I took the time to collect myself. I viewed the new exhibit at the Z Planetarium, went for drinks at Jacob West Park, and got a much-needed haircut. I had time to relax, a rare treat, and caught up on some visual broadcasts for the first time in ages. I even spent the evenings with my parents. Only yesterday did I return to work. The same 20-minute Skyrail ride waited for me, and I took a pensive moment to stare up at the building that had caused me so much distress. But then I met my new project lead, Dr. Ogawa, who was authentically delighted to meet me. She and I were speaking as she opened the door to the lab. Inside, the eyes of those terrible test subjects met mine as Dr. Ogawa flicked on the lights.
There are not many people who would choose this line of work.
This was the work I had been looking for. I had been so close to it, it had come looking for me. I smiled and followed Dr. Ogawa. I understand. There must be certain sacrifices for the sake of science.
Thank you for listening to Liberty, Tales from the Tower. For Science was written by K.A. Statz. Tales from the Tower is co-created by K.A. Statz and Travis Vengroff. For Science was read for us by K.A. Statz, with additional voices by Dayn Leonardson, Victoria Rowett Keller, Lauren Tucker, and Travis Vengroff. Produced with sound design by Travis Vengroff, with dialogue editing and additional sound design by Rikke Rømer. Music by Brandon Boone, and mixing and mastering by Finnur Nielsen. If you would like to learn more information about the world of Liberty, please check out libertyendures.com. This production is copyright 2016 and 2025 by Fool and Scholar Productions, and Liberty is a trademark of Travis Vengroff. Thank you for listening. May the Archon watch over you.